All right, so I want to do a little bit of a review before I post your final, well, not the final, but the exam 4. So this is going to be a review for exam 4, which is going to cover just chapter 13. So let's see. I need to move some things. There we go. All right. So and this is going to cover 13.1 to the 13.5. Let me pop back over. Here we go. So if you go over, so the work from the 27th and the 29th, that's really the first places you should go. And we did 13.1 and 13.2 on the 27th, and then 3, 4, and 5 on the for the 29th. That's as far as I'm going with this exam. I'm not doing anything after 13.5. Make sure you've watched these videos. I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of extra detail with this because I already have videos up here. So I looked at the videos. I looked at the textbook to make this exam. So you have the information. It is not going to be word for word. Know your vocab. I'm going to actually start with this. Watch the cystic fibrosis video. There is a lengthy fill in the blank section regarding cystic fibrosis. It's not hard vocab, but if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you're not going to be able to do it. So before you take the test, write some notes down about cystic fibrosis. The genetics vocabulary. Very, very heavy on that. If you have not seen this PowerPoint, this is a really good, I have a good PowerPoint linked here. So notes on 13.1, which will help you with the cystic fibrosis stuff, and then the Mendelian genetics, which will help you with the rest. Let's see. I go over genetics vocabulary in this. I'm not gonna do a whole other thing about it because it's there. You should have watched it. It's on video. You can watch it a couple of times. With the exception of the me going over the PowerPoint, these are all under 10 minutes. So there's really no excuse for that. There's some practice questions for the Mendelian genetics PowerPoint. If you don't know the vocab, you can't answer questions. I'm gonna be flat out about that. If you don't know what it means when I ask for the genotype, you can't answer the question. If you don't know heterozygous versus homozygous recessive versus homozygous dominant, you're not going to be able to answer the questions. There are a few questions that have multiple parts, so they're worth a lot of points, that are about solving genetics problems. So go back and look at the PowerPoint, the video. Actually, what I would suggest is maybe watch the genetics vocabulary video, pull up the Mendelian genetics PowerPoint. So scroll down to where it says notes. Look at the PowerPoint. Try to ask or answer the practice problems at the end. Once you have an idea, then watch the PowerPoint where I go over it and check your answers. I said genotype, phenotype, heterozygous, homozygous, recessive, homozygous, dominant. In addition to those vocab words, make sure, I like how this just is in my way. Make sure you also know things like gene, allele, locus. I love how this is in my way for some reason. I don't know why. Whoops. Already said dominant. Whoops. Recessive, heterozygous, homozygous, recessive, homozygous, Zygous dominant. Again, I go over these vocab words in that other video. I don't see the point in me making another video. I'm just pointing out stuff for you to make sure that you know, because some of you like to have that. But one of the best things you can do is go back and watch those videos. Take advantage of the fact that you have videos now and take notes from them. If I wrote it down, you should probably write it down too. If you get stuck on the genetics problems after you've tried them yourself and then worked them out, watched the video and worked them out, then you can email me, but just keep in mind that I'm not answering my emails over the weekend. I'm going to open exam 4 shortly after I get done with this video, and it'll be available to you till next Friday. So you have time to do it. You don't have to do it this weekend. Spend time doing some stuff to review, to get some notes together. Let me see my notes. I have notes on what notes to tell you about. Oh, more vocab. So make sure incomplete dominance versus codominance. Can you tell the difference? Codominance means they show up separately and distinctly. Incomplete means neither one is more dominant. They blend together to make a new phenotype. Phenotype. Phenotype's a good one too. I mentioned it earlier, but I'll write it out here. Phenotype, genotype. It sounds like gene. Genotype is the genetics. So big A, little a. That'd be a genotype. Phenotype would be purple flowers, white flowers, tall, short, green eyes, blue eyes, brown eyes. Those would be phenotypes. I think that's it. Oh, don't forget about Mendel and his contributions, what he observed, the plants he looked at. Remember, he studied like many different traits, and he determined that, the alleles were separated or segregated during meiosis because they're on homologous chromosome. So this chromosome and this chromosome, we're going to say my fingers are the chromosomes. They're homologous, and they each contain, let's say, the alleles. They each contain an allele for the flower color. So this one, let's say, is the dominant allele. This one is the recessive allele. During meiosis, they're going to separate. That is the law of segregation. Don't confuse that with independent assortment, where the chromosomes get independently assorted into their own gametes. So this law of segregation is the alleles get separated, but the law of independent assortment is the chromosomes get independently assorted into different gametes, so they're not linked. So if you have chromosomes over here and have chromosomes over here, they might not always end up in the same cell. They might not. I'm gonna pop back over. There's actually, I go into this, but I'm gonna point this out on here. There's 2 sections. That's 13.3 and 13.4. So law of independent assortment. This actually breaks this down. Let me get to the good picture here. It shows it here. This version can be this way, or it could separate and go into this. And again, for the 13.3 video, I go into this in more detail. So I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of detail about it. I'm just going to point you in that direction so that you know. Hopefully this helps, and good luck.